All right, y'all, welcome to the show. So we have Iran talks are breaking down, but they're breaking down by design on purpose. So I'm going to walk you through that. Really not good updates here. We'll talk about that. We also have an MSNBC host choked up over the results of Elon and Doge's spending cuts. You have people dying as a result of the U.S. aid cuts. So really emotional clip there. We'll also get to an Israeli propagandist was kicked off of Sky News, basically for shamelessly lying. We have a weatherman issued a dire warning that you have to see to believe. It really speaks to like the breakdown of civil society. Wait until you see that clip. Then we'll get to Trump's tariffs are backfiring spectacularly. We have MAGA face planting as they desperately try to defend their colossal healthcare cuts. We have a former MSNBC host revealing the truth behind the scenes that the bosses try to silence the on-air talent. And we also have, because of a special election that just occurred, we have Republican Armageddon. It has officially arrived, y'all. So there's a lot to say about all of that. You guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. It helps out big time and costs you nothing at all. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. Could not do it without you. $2 a month, $5 a month. That all goes a really long way. I've never had a conversation with an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. This is true grassroots media. You guys make that possible. Thank you so much for that. Go subscribe to the Corin's World YouTube channel if you want to see the Kyle and Corin show. That's, we post him over there. We haven't missed a week yet since it's been on his channel. And subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below as well. All right, guys, let's jump into it here. So CNN has an article out. Iranian official says U.S. nuclear proposal is incoherent and disjointed. As sources warn, talks momentum is collapsing. Okay. They say a senior Iranian official told CNN the new nuclear deal proposal presented to Tehran in recent days is incoherent and disjointed, as sources familiar with the progress of the talks said the momentum being behind negotiations is to secure a new deal appears to be collapsing. The private pessimism contrasts with President Trump's public optimism last week that the administration was very close to a solution. CNN has also learned that the U.S. has shifted position on the issue of uranium enrichment in the new proposal. In comparison to what officials had said publicly, it suggests the U.S. could invest in Iran's civilian nuclear power program and join a consortium that would oversee the enrichment of low-level uranium inside of Iran for an unspecified amount of time. That consortium is expected to include Middle Eastern nations and the UN's nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Previously, senior U.S. officials have said no enrichment inside Iran could take place under a new deal, and top U.S. officials demanded that Iran stop enrichment and only import the material, a suggestion Tehran firmly rejected. The prospect of allowing continued low-level enrichment in the country would likely enrage Iran hawks in the U.S. and Israel, and harkens back to the 2015 nuclear deal from which Trump withdrew. However, later Monday, Trump said that the Iran deal would not allow uranium enrichment. Under our potential agreement, we will not allow any enrichment of uranium, the president wrote in a post on his Truth Social platform. Iranian officials have repeatedly said that they are open to the idea of an enrichment consortium, but have insisted Iran must be able to keep control of its own enrichment capabilities. The senior Iranian official on Monday denounced the new proposal, saying that at first glance is assessed as incoherent and disjointed, very unrealistic, and with excessive demands. They argued that the primary barrier to progress was the U.S. inconsistency. The fact that the Americans constantly change their positions has so far been the main obstacle to the success of the talks and now makes the work more difficult than ever, the official added. The official also alleged that the latest text directly contradicts prior understandings. The text is clearly in conflict with the latest agreement reached during the fifth round of negotiations. They reaffirmed Tehran's uncompromising stance on critical issue, saying Iran's positive position on enrichment is firm and steadfast. So, let me explain to you what's going on here. There have been indications that effectively the U.S. and Israel more specifically, they're trying to slip a poison pill into this deal, which will guarantee the deal will fail because Netanyahu wants war with Iran. The Israel lobby wants war with Iran. So, the 2015 Iranian nuclear agreement that was done by Obama, Iran signed up to it. The world signed up to it. It was working perfectly. It was verified over a dozen times by the IAEA that Iran was complying completely, 100%. And the way that worked is we lifted sanctions on them, we gave them back their own money that we had stolen, and in return for that, the UN and the IAEA would go in there and regulate their nuclear facilities and make sure they only enrich for power for their power grid and for scientific research, and they don't get weapons-grade enrichment, right? That was working. Trump, the neocon warmonger psychopath, goes in there and rips up that agreement and pulls out of it immediately when he becomes president, right? That led to colossal problems. We had peace and stability under the deal. Everything was good. Then he pulls out of the deal. He rips it up. He attacks a top Iranian commander, General Soleimani, who was on the ground fighting ISIS at the time, by the way, proving he's not a partner for peace, proving he's a warmonger, right? And now here we are, fast forward to today. Biden didn't get back in it. He said he was going to get back in the Iran nuclear agreement. He lied. He didn't do that. So now here's Trump. And what's happening today? Well, Israel's doing a genocide in Gaza. They're trying to do mission creep and take over the West Bank. They're taking over parts of Syria. They're bombing Lebanon. They've really weakened Hamas and Hezbollah, the top Iranian proxies in the region. Netanyahu is frothing at the mouth and chomping at the bit to go to war with Iran. So there were some indications that Trump and Witkoff, his key guy in these negotiations, that they were okay. They were willing to concede, look, you can do some enrichment for power for your power grid. That's fine. Right? And by the way, Iran has a right under international law to do those things. They're willing to concede that. But then the Israel lobby kicked into effect. You had Barak Ravid, who basically is, just a stooge of the Israeli government. He writes an article on Axios saying that, fear-mongering about the fact that Trump's okay with Iran enriching uranium, trying to make it seem like that's a scandal when it's not at all, baits Trump into coming out and saying, no enrichment at all. We never wavered on that. No enrichment at all. And then this is why Iran comes out and says, what are you talking about? We just had a deal where it allows enrichment, right? We need power for our power grid. We need power for scientific research. We have a right to have low enriched uranium. What are you talking about? You just agreed to that and now you're flipping on it. Guys, this was all the Israel lobby and Netanyahu throwing a wrench in the negotiations, baiting Trump into coming out and saying the opposite thing, that, oh, no enrichment at all, not even a little bit, nothing. But where does that leave us? That leaves us in fucking no man's land where what's guaranteed is war with Iran. They are never going to agree to have zero enrichment. Never. They have a right to have enrichment. They have a right to have it for power for their power grid, right? They're never going to agree to that. So this is Israel trying to tank the deal, right? And here's my fear that Trump in his heart of hearts, would he be okay with some sort of a deal that he could just take credit for? I'm sure that's partly in his mind, right? But the other thing that's in his mind is he took $100 million from Miriam Adelson. He took hundreds of millions from Sheldon Adelson when he was alive. He is surrounded by pro-Israel warmonger neocon hawks, right? And all of the pressure from within the regime is saying, oh, you can't let them do that. Don't be weak. You're being weak. You're letting them take advantage of you. Are you kidding me? You're letting them get away with this? You're letting them enrich uranium? And like I said, all it took was one media story from Barak Ravid, the Israeli stooge, saying Trump caves on Iran and allows them to enrich, for him to come out and say, no enrichment at all, nothing, not even a little bit. And so here we are. He's being played like a fucking fiddle, and we are on the brink of war with Iran. By the way, Trump had already said on the campaign trail to Netanyahu, well, if he wants to attack Iran's nuclear facilities, he can attack them. I have no problem with that. He can go right ahead and do that. That's totally fine with me. And then in a different interview, he had said, if Israel attacks Iran's nuclear facilities, we'll jump in on the side of Israel. So they are trying to orchestrate from behind the scenes. They are trying to orchestrate and finagle their way into a hot war with Iran where the U.S. is the primary force in the region. The U.S. effectively does Israel's dirty work because, again, Netanyahu views this as an opportunity, a once-in-a-generation opportunity. They're bombing Lebanon. They've already taken over parts of Syria. They're taking all of Gaza. They're doing mission creep, and they want to take over the West Bank. Greater Israel is on the table. They view their biggest regional enemy as Iran, and they pretend like Iran is a threat to them. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. Israel is a threat to Iran. The government that's currently bombing multiple countries, including many innocent people, that one is the unhinged one. That's the psychopathic one. Okay? And so it's the opposite of what they claim. Iran's a threat to us. No, you're a threat to Iran. And they're trying to bring that about. And I don't think Trump has the intelligence and the wherewithal and even just the concern of like, yeah, I'd rather make some sort of a peace deal. Hey, look, at this point, I wouldn't care if he dusts off the old Iranian nuclear deal and jumps right back in it and says, nope, this is my deal, it's not Obama's. I wouldn't care. It would still be bullshit because he shouldn't have pulled out of it in the first place, right? It still would be bullshit. You created the problem and then you solved the problem that you created, right? It would still be bullshit, but I will take that 1,000 times over what looks like is about to come, which is they're twisting the arm of the U.S. The Israel lobby is deceiving the U.S. government, and they are trying to get us to war with Iran. And I feel horrible for the Iranians because they're sitting there like, we agree to terms, and then the next day, the terms change, and it's like, what the fuck? Well, now you know what Hamas goes through, right? It was literally the same thing with Hamas. Hamas agreed the other day, we'll give you back all of the hostages, and we will literally drop our weapons and leave Gaza. And Israel said, no, we don't want you to leave Gaza. Why? Because they want the excuse to keep bombing people. They want Hamas in there so they have the excuse, hey, we're going after Hamas. That's what they did in that scenario. Iran is being given the same runaround. And here you go. They negotiated in good faith the first time. They abided by the deal. It was the U.S. that violated the deal and then ripped it up. What incentive do they have to take our word for fucking anything? And then even in the midst of these negotiations, the terms change based on one article where Trump feels like I'm being portrayed as weak. Everybody's doing like the whole taco Trump thing. Trump always chickens out. The reality is Trump caving to the Israel lobby. This is Trump chickening out. Saying, no enrichment, no enrichment, no enrichment. If you want to be strong, you say, of course they have a right to enrich at a low level, and we'll make sure it stays at a low level. What are you talking about? But he's not smart enough, and he's not principled, and he doesn't care fundamentally. And so I really feel like we're on, we're at the brink of war with Iran, and I think effectively Israel's meddling from within our government is going to get us to the point where that's where we end up. I really feel like that's what's happening at the moment. Bibi has always wanted war with Iran, and now you've never had a government that is more under control by the Israel lobby than this one. It's like we're fighting an uphill battle just to not get into another disastrous giant war. So the talks are collapsing, and they're collapsing because of the U.S., because we're incoherent and disjointed, to use Iran's terminology, and because Trump really doesn't know and doesn't care about the specifics, doesn't care about the details. He just saw, oh, they're accusing me of being weak, so no enrichment at all, none, zero. Okay, well then again, that means war. And Israel knows exactly how to play him like a fiddle, and they're doing it right in front of our eyes. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.